Hello, gore whores and fellow deadites. I'm Brendan, and welcome to Our Life in Horror. And tonight we have a very special interview with Raj Jawa. He is an actor from The Seductress from Hell. Everybody give him a big welcome onto the stage. Hello, Raj.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
This was like a long time in the making. When did we set this up? It feels like a while ago.
It's at least a month. Maybe somewhere, maybe 6 weeks. I don't know. Something around there.
Okay.
Hard to remember, truly.
Yeah. Awesome. So I do got a laundry list of questions here for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. I guess first off, where are you from?
I'm from Los Angeles originally. I was born in Los Angeles. I've lived in Los Angeles most of my life. I had about 4 years in Boston, Massachusetts, and then I moved back to LA in 2021.
Nice. You like the big city living?
I do. It's funny to think about Boston though, because I originally thought Boston was like big city living, and going there, it's kind of not. You know, it's not like a New York or an LA in terms of diversity of like personalities. Maybe not the right word, but like it's kind of like a place for people who are in academia, in tech, in medical. Or you're just a really big sports fan, or you've lived there all your life. You know, it's not as you know, there's not a huge artist community, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is at least what I found outside of like probably going to the colleges there.
Okay. In LA, there's not like a big
no LA. Sorry, no, Boston.
Boston.
I am talking about because my perception is Boston, big town. It's just like New York, just like LA. You know, yeah. And going there, it was not the case.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So you have over 73 credits on IMDb. How long have you been acting for, and did you go to school for it?
I did. I mean, I guess I technically didn't go to school. I've been in like acting coach classes, and I started my education in film and production in community college. So I did some work there. Started acting a very little tiny bit there. Didn't know I wanted to do acting until a little bit later. You know, I connected with a friend who wanted to do a project, kind of semi-autobiographical, semi-narrative about you know, our lives at the time. So yeah, that's kind of where I got the bug to act, because he wanted me to act in it as the lead. So yeah, it just kind of grew from there. I started, you know, looking at classes, started checking out workshops and stuff. So yeah, it kind of came from the back end of like exploring production, and then getting into acting that way. And that was like, I got my associate's degree in 2008. So I probably started acting, I mean, if we wanted to consider like viral before YouTube type videos, which not to say they went viral, just they were that kind of fodder, maybe about 2007 or so.
Okay. Have you ever done like any theater or anything like that before making the switch to film, or?
No, actually, no. Very limited. I did do one theater production, very small, in North Hollywood. It was like a 30 seat type theater thing. It was like, and it was funny because it was kind of like the crossroads of theater and film, because it was reenacting small scenes from various movies. I did Ghostbusters, I think Gothica, and one other movie. And yeah, that was very fun, but it was kind of like, it's theater, but it's also doing movies, so it wasn't like quite theater at the same time, but it was cool. But yeah, I haven't done much theater beyond that.
Okay, cool. So are you a horror fan?
It's funny. I mean, I definitely am. I just never considered myself that, and I think I would consider myself more of a horror fan these days, especially now that I've gotten more versed in it through the production of The Seductress, and also just exploring it more. But I guess I think I too always considered horror to be a little more of a purist genre, and then, you know, looking at Letterboxd and things like that, I see a lot of the crossover of like genres I like and maybe didn't consider horror, but still kind of have those horror tones. And I think I like a lot of those movies. I think I like a lot of horror movie that is what do you call it, genre mixed with other type of movies.
Okay, cool. I like that. So, how did you come across the role of Derek Patel?
Well, I mean, I came through the business end actually. I'd been working with Andrew, who's the director, writer, producer on Seductress, for a little bit. We'd met, I don't know, maybe a year before. He'd worked on a commercial for my family's grocery and restaurant, India Sweets and Spices, and through that we came to. He showed me his script for the Seductress, and I said I was interested in producing it and helping him get it made. So I jumped on as executive producer first, and I think the role of Derek was more or less kind of fit for me, if not written for me. I would say, being an Indian store, he's an Indian store owner. And I could, that movie kind of had Seductress kind of has a bit of the kind of the worst of LA and kind of the worst of like people not connecting personalities. But beyond that, I would say the character's fairly kind of was written for me, I would say, just as kind of the nature of the production we were embarking upon.
Okay. um, with this being a horror channel, I do have to ask what. Let me see. Sorry, our printer's scrapping out. What was the first horror movie that you watched?
Oh God, I mean, I like to say because I enjoy saying it is the first horror movie I remember watching is Super Mario Brothers, because those tiny Koopa heads were like very horrifying. Especially, I saw it in the theaters at that age, and that was just awful. I think I'm pretty sure I left crying from that movie. So not intended to be a horror film, but I think it very much happened to be. I think the first like true horror film I watched was probably The Grudge. Playing cards with friends or whatever, like rent a movie and have that kind of thing. I think that was my first kind of introduction to horror per se. And then somewhat, I avoided horror movies, especially jump scare horror movies for a while. But one thing I remember too was like video games. Resident Evil 2 specifically is one I picked up. I didn't know anything about Resident Evil, so like that jump scare of I forget what it's called, the liquor coming through the glass window in the police station, the interrogation room. That always was got me. So yeah, I would say those two are really my kind of intro into horror back in the day.
Okay, cool. Sam loves The Grudge. It's like one of her favorites. It's also one that like scared her out of watching horror movies for like a few years.
Sure, absolutely. No, same. Like it's that kind of thing of like you don't want to go into the bathroom when the shower door is shut. It's like, no, what's behind there? You don't know. I think too, The Grudge is, I didn't probably recognize it at the time, but The Grudge is kind of touching on those like social commentary type horrors, which is what I really enjoy as well.
Yeah. Okay. In horror, something. Sorry, Jesus. Is something horror that you'd like to work more in, or what sort of roles would you like to get into in the future?
Interesting question. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not opposed to horror. I definitely would love to be involved in more horror films for sure. This role was a little. I guess normal would be the best way to put it. Derek was a kind of just very normal character, so I would definitely like to dive more into something juicier, like killer, evil CEO, these kind of things. Like I really want to sink my teeth into something that's a little more over the top. Obviously not trying to go like ham acting, but something a little more that pushes the limits of what I've done before is what I'm really excited about.
Okay, cool. What sort of advice would you give someone who wants to get into acting?
Oh man, don't. But no, no. I mean, here's the thing. I would say don't if you kind of have the idea of this glamorous and easy path. I think maybe everybody knows it's not easy now. Maybe not, I don't know. But I think there's a lot of people getting in it for the wrong reasons, or at least they were when I was, I don't know, a couple years back before COVID, kind of stuff. Like a lot of people got in it for just kind of the glamour of it. And I think, it certainly is a great job. But the problem is, it's so sporadic. You're doing it so rarely. So I think that's the best advice, is keep that in mind. If you're going to pursue a career in acting, keep in mind the sporadic of getting work per se, and the reality that you may be having to make your work. I mean, that's to speak of my involvement on the Seductress. That's kind of what I'm doing here.
Are you, with 73 titles under your belt, are you a part of the Film Actors Guild or anything? Are you unionized?
I am a FICOR actor. So that's if you're not familiar, it is a status in which you opt to. You're still technically in the union, but you're kind of not well looked upon status. But really, the only thing that's mainly important about the FICOR status is it allows you as a union actor to do both non-union and union jobs. Because once you join the union, you are shut out from non-union jobs entirely, or you should be. I'm sure people do it, under the table. SAG's not going to find out, this and that. It's like plenty of people don't bother to go the FICOR route. It's, advisable, maybe not advisable, I can't say, but the point is it's basically just a legal status in which allows you to without having to go under the table do non-union work as a union actor.
Okay, so like more like independent films, like.
For sure. I mean, here's the thing: a lot of films also film like during strikes or this and that has to be either non-union or find a way to get a union agreement, which is also possible. But I think, I don't think there's probably arguments for both in terms of like, oh, non-union's going to try to screw you. And I'm sure there are a lot of non-union productions, probably maybe especially commercials that are non-union, that are not going to give you your due, your residuals, your whatever, your proper buyouts. But I think just the nature of the business, unfortunately, makes it hard to just, make yourself open to only union work. That's my perspective anyways. I'm sure there'll people who would come on and say the exact opposite, and I'm doing harm to other actors. And, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh no, I think that's the unfortunate reality of the business.
Okay, cool. Learning something.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I had no idea. So you said that, acting, when you get to do it, is kind of far and few in between. So what else are you doing for work, if you don't mind? Just
for sure.
Are you bussing tables like the classic like Hollywood dream star would do in the movies, or?
Thankfully, I mean, not thankfully that I'm above that, but I thankfully don't have to do that because of my aforementioned family business, which is what I do. I have a location of my own, a grocery store of the family business. So that's mostly what I do day to day. I mean, obviously I have a good amount of time to, try to write sketches, try to get back into that. I do some video game streaming, not that that makes any income, but I do it. Just little things. But most of my income comes from the business. I mean, as one might expect, it's the kind of tangible thing in this, more creative pursuit, I would say.
Okay, cool. You won an award for Best Supporting Role in The Seductress of Hell, correct?
I do. Where did you hear that? Because you're the second person who's told me that, and I'm not sure if that's true. Where did you get that?
My wife told me about it. So.
But from where? But the source? Like, I'm wondering where.
I don't have the source.
No worries. No worries.
On me.
Don't worry. I mean, I'll take it. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, nah. But I just never heard. Like, if I did, like, no one told me.
Okay.
Which is cool. I mean, but yeah, I actually heard from what is it? The Wolf Media Festival podcast. They actually asked me the same thing, and I was flabbergasted, so I just said yes, because I'm like, yes I did, because I didn't know what they were talking about, but it must be somewhere. Like, there has to be a source to this, so I appreciate it. I guess I have. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I got no idea, but I will get Sam to send you the link on where she found out this information. No. All you know is you don't have a trophy or a plaque sitting up beside you in that room.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct.
How long were you working on set for the film of the Seductress from Hell, and what was it like working with Andrew DeBerg? Have you guys worked together before? Which I guess you kind of said you did a commercial together.
We did. Yeah, I mean, the set was great. It was about 10 or so days, which were really great, and they weren't long days. I think there's an expectation, especially in indie production, to run the full 12 hours, but I think we only did like 10 hours, which was great. I think everybody loved that. And yeah, they worked fast. Things were. A lot of times, you're running out of time and things got to be cut or merged or whatever. That was all happening amazingly. So yeah, I think Andrew, everyone did a great job, but Andrew especially did a great job in his, handling of the shot list and being like, okay, we don't have time for this, combine that into that. Oh, we already got that in this. I thought that was great. So working with Andrew is definitely great. He's definitely professional and serious about what he does. And he brought either through previous connection or interviews a lot of the crew, and a lot of them were equally amazing. Actually, all of them. I don't want to say a lot of them because I do mean all of them were equally amazing. It was really smooth. Actually, it's probably the smoothest production, definitely the smoothest production I've been a part of. Not that previous ones have been bad, but this one just flowed like the river, And there's definitely been, sets I've been on, not mine per se, but like sets that are chaotic and crazy. And this one was not that. This one felt like a nice family-friendly vibe the whole time, which was really amazing. A lot. It's more than you could really ask for on a set like this, I think.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm glad it went smooth. Yeah, because shooting in 10 days, you think it would be quite hectic and everybody very frantic.
Yeah.
That's wild. What preparation did you do to get into the role of Derek Patel, or what prep do you do in other projects to get into your roles?
That's an interesting question, because I'd like to say I do a lot, and I did a lot for Derek. I think, whether fortunate or unfortunate, I've played a lot of myself, and maybe that's my prep in some ways, because I've put a lot of myself, I think, in the roles I've played, because they're generally not too far off from me, at least in my experience thus far. Some certain directors may ask for certain like deliveries, or like play it more down or play it more up, but overall, like, I've definitely felt more like I've played myself. I definitely felt like I've played more random characters, and would like to do more in the acting space on like voiceover. And I haven't done like a vast amount, but the character range in voiceover is so much can be so much more diverse, because you don't have to look like the character. You don't have to. Nobody sees your face. You're just basically doing whatever voice you've come up with, or whatever voice you have for the character. The only problem with voiceover is like acting's competitive. Voiceover is even more so, because you throw out country, you throw out look. You have women playing men playing women. Doesn't matter as long as you can do the voice. Old and young. It really is, I guess, in some ways, a great equalizer, because everyone can kind of play anything. But at the same time, that makes it very competitive at the same time.
Yeah, that's fair. Are you ever afraid? Are you, like you said, you get to play yourself in a lot of the roles that you've been in? Are you ever afraid of being typecast, or become a character actor?
Nah, no, I don't think so. Like, I mean, to be honest, I think I would probably prefer to be typecast, because then I'm just working all the time. Because that's great. If I'm known enough or whatever to be typecast, it's because that's really been my whole goal. I've never felt like, I guess I've been productive enough in my own creativity that I've never felt stifled by playing the same character or a similar character. Sure, maybe it gets boring or whatever, but I mean, if I could do it, if it's easy, like, it's certainly not something I'm going to shy away from and deny, because I mean, to be honest, I think it would be a dream, honestly, at this stage, at this point in a lot of people's career, at this year and time, for people to be typecast, because you made it, you're in. I think the old adage of being, I mean, I could be wrong. I maybe only speak for myself, but I feel like the old adage of being typecast is a thing of the past because you just want to be a working actor, whatever that means.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, you're always busy. You're always working. Yeah, it's true. Um, did you stay on script 100% of the time, or did Andrew leave some room for improvising?
I mean, we had a few moments of full improvisation where we didn't have any script, and this is like, oh, let's add a little more to this, and a lot of that made it into the movie. A lot of the awkward dinner scenes and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I mean, there was definitely some openness. It wasn't like a Aaron Sorkin or anything like strict on script, but I think the overall sense was fairly on script, I would say. Especially, I didn't like read through the entire monologues, but I very much presume a lot of Zara's monologues are very much on script because they are quite lengthy. So even if maybe words are changed here and there, they're most likely probably pretty close to the original intent.
Okay, pretty straightforward then.
Yeah.
Um, were there any method actors on set of the Seductress from Hell?
I mean, not that I recognized, not that I saw as a method actor. Nobody really felt like they were deep into their part. I think Seductress doesn't call for the most intense roles in Seductress. I would say came from Zara, the Seductress, and her husband. I think they had the most demanding roles, but no, I don't think either one of them were particularly method. And I think everyone else in the film, maybe save for Andy Lauer, who played the police officer. And I'm not saying it's a bad performance. It's just a very over the top and maybe unbelievable police officer performance, but that is what they were going for. It's not like anyone went off script. It's great. I find it hilarious every time I watch it. But yeah, as far as method, I don't think anyone was method or like too caught up in their role as it pertains to like method acting.
Have you ever dealt with anybody doing the method acting? Have you ever seen somebody on set?
I don't think so. I think to a certain degree, like I've done it, but more like accidental. Like, being cast in a film and the character is really depressed and you also happen to be really depressed at that point in your life. I think it's kind of like you may not have the same exact problems as the character, but I think there's a certain like connection to that. So I think there's some accidental method at times, but like certainly I've never gotten method, and yeah, I've never really run into anyone who really dove deep into their part like that. Never anyone who it seemed like they were disconnecting from themselves to become a character. I've never really experienced that.
Yeah, would that be something that you'd be interested in trying?
I think it really depends. I think it really would depend, and I think I think it's really kind of not. I don't think it has to be as intense as people like Daniel Day-Lewis. I don't think it has to be quite as seclusionary as or isolating, I guess, as like what he did for Lincoln, and then that one photograph of him came out with the beard. It's like I feel like there's definitely a range of method in terms of how deep into it you get into the character. And I think the thing is all those I think there's like those four acting like principles each have their merit. I would never probably go all in one, and I don't even know if I maybe could. It maybe be hard to disconnect from life that deeply unless you were being paid that kind of money. I think that's also a big factor in being method too. It's kind of privileged to have that much freedom to like, I'm going to disconnect from everything and kind of dive into this.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, it would take a lot. The female lead has a very complex character, as she is a victim of abuse, yet also she becomes somewhat of a villain. What do you think about her character, and what And what light do you see in her?
Oh, interesting. Okay. Um, well, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to justify killing people ever. I think there's certainly, in terms of her character and the confines of the movie, I think there's a certain understanding that sometimes the powers that be are not always going to work in our favor or always work to our benefit, even if we are the true victim. So not to give like revenge its credence, but I think that's really her arc is taking this revenge upon herself, uh to take her power back, to no longer feel victimized by neither her husband nor I think society itself. I think society itself is a character in the Seductress in terms of really shining a light on indifference, individualism, coldness. That was I think what really drew me to the Seductress, draws me to movies that I watch in general, and ideally movies that I make and whether produce or create in whatever way. Yeah, I think I really appreciate movies that shine a light on society's kind of foibles. And I mean, not just to do it. Like I don't want to do it just to do it. I do it in the hopes that it creates change. I don't know how much hope I have for that, at least in the modern day, at least right in this moment of time. But I maintain hope. I mean, that's why I do it. I do it to movies for me are about messages. So I think in that like sense, the Zara character is taking back control, of a world she didn't. And I think that's again, not homicidally, but in a way what we all want to do in our own lives, and we all want to have control in a way that we maybe don't and can't even attain. As many aspirational YouTube videos or what have you are out there, finance investing, all this stuff. It's not gonna necessarily make it easier to live in the world we have right now. So yeah, that I think that's kind of the main focus. Is Zara is a person who is kind of broken down past society's barriers. She's a bit of the Michael Douglas breaking down character, if you want to put it in those terms.
Yeah. Okay. Man, you say you love movies with messages and social commentaries, and you don't like horror. What's going on? You got to
no, that's not more. Absolutely not true. No, it's again, it goes back to me recognizing the horror that does have those things. Like for me, I think of movies like Vivarium. Really kind of has this life is a prison type feeling to it. Obviously, there's a little more horror element to it than that, but a lot of the movie is like, buy a house, have a kid, the kid's gonna take your house, and you're gonna die and be buried in the yard. Like it's kind of that whole like feeling of life being. It's just the whole cycle of life. The movie's not super cerebral, and yet if you give it more meaning than maybe just what's on the screen, it is. And in the same context, I like the movie Men, Alex Garland's Men. Kind of the body horror, another type of I guess it's like a guilt story told from a like female, if I remember properly, is a guilt story told from a female perspective of being kind of guilted into staying in a relationship that's maybe not good for either party. All these things, yeah, there's tons of movies that follow the parameters. It's just when I think of originally, before I did this movie, and traditionally I've always thought of horror as it's The Grudge, it's Friday the 13th, it's so bad I can't even think of other names, but it's these classic horror movies that are maybe not devoid of social commentary, but maybe don't have as deep as maybe movies that have been come out in the more modern day. Another one I like a lot is Happy Death Day. Happy
Okay.
Death Day I thought was really great in terms of like, recognizing your role in kind of the Groundhog Day type. You play a role in your continuance of the cycle.
Okay, awesome. Have you checked out like George Romero's like Dead movies?
I think I have seen. Remind me, the one that's in the mall, is that
Dawn.
okay? So I have seen that one. That one's not bad. I definitely gravitate more towards if I think of a similar movie and tone. I think of like The Thing,
Okay,
John
yeah.
Carpenter's Thing. But yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed. I was entertained for sure by Dawn of the Dead, for sure. And
Okay.
I think I definitely would enjoy a lot of those movies. I just there's so many movies past and present that you pick and choose what you have time for.
Oh my God, do I know? Look at them all.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a struggle.
In terms of, I mean, I know it's probably not exactly the same, but Shaun of the Dead, I really enjoyed the parody, or I guess it's not technically a parody, but I enjoyed that movie as well, which definitely not horror per se, but definitely touched on some of the elements.
Oh, I love that movie. It's so
Yeah.
fantastic.
Absolutely.
Let's see. What challenges do you have while working on the film, and did you learn anything?
Oh God, we always learn something. I guess it depends on how open we are to learning. I guess is if we learn something. Yeah, I mean, I learned a lot in terms of like as much as I purport to, and I've done this quite a bit. But there's a whole business of film that I've, mostly tried to avoid. I think I mostly tried to avoid it because I have a family business, and it's like I don't want to think about that. I want to be an artist. The problem is being an artist these days. Maybe it's always been this way, is not, you can't just be an artist and that's it. You kind of have to market. You have to figure out I guess the easiest way to put it is you have to figure out your brand. How do you sell your acting, your character, your whatever to people? And I know like one or two actors actually that are pretty good at that. You see their Facebook posts, you see their way to integrate both marketing and creativity in a great way. And I love Photoshop as much as the next person, but I've never like sat and thought about like, oh, how do I like create this image that's like, or how do I create, I gotta format this story and put like the interview on the bottom and put the clip on the top. It's all this like, it's not acting, it's just me thinking of how do I get people to think of me more as an actor. It's almost like I think there's a lot of aspirationalness to the pursuit in terms of like, oh look, he's acting in things, we should hire him. But if I'm not appearing on people's feed, they don't think of me, they don't think of whoever the case may be. So I think that's always a challenge. That's and to tie it back to learning, yeah, it's the business of getting the paperwork, getting things like chain of title in line, getting things that you need for distributors to want to pick up your script, for deals, learning about things like minimum guarantees. There's just a lot of language that gets thrown at you, and you're like, well, that makes sense. Those words make sense, but then what does that mean actually? And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, maybe not, but a lot of people I mean, they've always taught us about Hollywood accounting, the whole kind of like, movies that are wildly successful don't actually make any money because, 10 years of marketing expense and blah, blah, blah. Actually, the filmmaker, the actors, whoever gets residuals don't get anything because of blah, blah, blah expense, even though it's like 30 years past the movie, release date. It's like years and years down the line and nobody's seeing any profit participation, even though they have, that in their contracts. So I think it's that. It's really learning the business, both the good and the bad of making movies. You want to hope and think it's just people getting together, having this great rapport on set, and everybody's enjoying themselves, and that's great. That's awesome. I love that. That's why I'm here. and then you get to the part where it's, oh, people need to buy this. It's like, how do we get it to them? How do we, it's, gatekeepers, it's VOD, it's whatever the case may be. It's putting it up theatrically so people come and buy tickets. But even that, it's like, you gotta market it. You gotta give people a reason to want to watch it. So I think all that is constantly a learning experience of like, you can make it, but it doesn't mean anyone's gonna ever see it.
Yeah, that's very true. So you said you also got to take on the role of his executive producer on this film as well. Did you kept that title as well throughout the movie, or did you switch over?
No, I've been executive producer since the front. I mean, my logo's on the film, Garage Pictures. So yeah, I've been executive producer since the top of it. Yeah, that's kind of the thing, like executive producer and actor being my main roles and my main involvement, to be honest. Like a lot of the grunt work did get done by Andrew, and then subsequently the crews that were hired.
So walk us through a little bit of the executive producer role.
It's mostly monetary. It's mostly financial. It's accounting. It's keeping track of basically the finances beyond like day-to-day accounting. Like obviously you have somebody on set, maybe like keeping track of petty expenses, putting on an envelope, these kind of things. But it's really kind of the overarching, I mean, for lack of using the word in the definition, it's kind of the executive role of like, it wouldn't, if I wasn't an actor, I probably wouldn't need to even be on set. It would be much more administrative of just kind of, talking to investors. I think a lot of it would be assuring investors, especially if they have money involved, to be like, no, everything's fine. He knows what he's doing. And it's those things. It's making the kind of deals, signing off on deals, just kind of the overarching decision maker, I guess, beyond the creative elements, which goes more obviously to the director, writer, depending. Like some directors and writers are less auteurs. Obviously, Andrew had quite a bit of involvement, but I think the DP obviously had a lot of the vision visually. So yeah, I think everybody had kind of their expertise in this.
Awesome. Do you have any fun stories from working on the set of the Seductress from Hell?
Oh God. I mean, it's not fun, but unfortunately the only thing I can think of is we accidentally scraped our truck against one of the condos, not the one we were working on, but somebody else's condo. So that was not fun. That's kind of the only like outstanding story, unfortunately, I can think of. Because that was a bit of a scare, but that all worked out in the end. That's what you have insurance for. And yeah, I think that's kind of unfortunately the only like wild story. Because like I say, everything was more or less like right as it should be. It really worked out. Like I a previous production I had, I think 2015 or so. We had the makeup. We had to actually fire the makeup artist. We were unhappy with what was happening. So the makeup artist was actually replaced that day, like that moment. So I would say that was be a much more like pleasant story, but that was not this movie. Unfortunately, this movie had property damage.
Okay. Can you give any insight as to why that makeup artist was fired? What happened?
Oh no, it's just sometimes it's attitudes. A lot of times you get to work with great people, and then some people feel whether entitled or maybe they're maybe they work on bigger sets and they were slumming it on your set, and demands are kind of exceed the what the set can provide. In terms of I think no one would be like denying of anyone's like, oh, I need a light or something, but it's like, if you need one, can you like provide it for yourself? Like, we're all like busy working. It's kind of these kind of things of like when people have high expectations, like you obviously maybe it's a little more accepted when it's like, oh, the actor's a diva. Oh, he was on this thing, so I guess we have to accept it. But like, if it's a makeup artist, it's like, come on, we're all part of the same team. We should be kind of collaborating rather than working adversarially. And I think that's really that's the only time I've ever seen anyone fired in that capacity, and it is really that it's not being a team player in terms of in a way that everyone else is. Like if you have a crew revolt and a lot of people are against you, then obviously you got a problem. This is probably a set. Everyone should step back and have a discussion. But if you have one person kind of like acting up, it's generally usually that one person.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any actors that inspire you and your work?
I mean, I've always been inspired. Well, always since I've been more like film aware. I've been inspired by the work of the late Philip Seymour Hoffman. Very much enjoy all of his work. I'm sure there's plenty of movies I haven't seen, including Hunger Games, and I need to see that because I know he's in that as well. Even like Mission Impossible 3, he does like great work in these movies that are just they're mainstream fodder, I guess I would say. So yeah, he's always been one I admired a lot. I think I like the oddball actors that are kind of have more subtle roles. Hard to say subtle when I'm about to say like Paul Giamatti and like Steve Buscemi. So like I gravitate toward these kind of actors. I still, problematic as he may be, I do enjoy the work of Kevin Spacey, especially like Kevin Spacey back in the American Beauty days.
Mm-hmm.
But I also acknowledge how problematic and not like not like, oh my god, I admire him so much. Yeah. just like I like his acting. He's acted well in many things.
Yeah, that's fair. On your IMDb credits, it says that you had a role in Free Guy. Do you have any cool stories from working on that set?
I only have. I mean, I was working on that for very briefly, but yes, I guess the story would be finding out. That was another lesson too, which I guess I kind of knew. I thought it was kind of maybe a joke, but every time, because I'm in the scene, I'm eating pizza and commenting on Ryan Reynolds doing game stuff. Like it's basically as he's starting to realize his power in this world, I'm one of the gamers who was like, whoa, what the hell, where'd this guy come from? So that's my role, and I'm eating pizza while I do that. So every time they call take, one of the crew members, I don't know if PA or other role, but they'd come in with a spit bucket, and I'm like just chewing and eating the pizza. I'm like, nah, just fine. I don't need this. But they do it anyways. I guess the expectation is whether dietary, who knows. But the point is, like, I think there's a lot of expectation to like not like consume the food on set or in a scene like that. I don't know. I mean, I enjoy pizza. It didn't taste like it had anything wrong with it. So I mean, yeah, I enjoyed having pizza while I'm acting. So it's honestly kind of a dream. I don't think I've ate pizza and acted in a scene thus far. So that was actually dream achieved.
When it's almost like you're doing like a pizza tasting if you have to spit it out every time, kind of like wine.
Oh yeah, do they do that at pizza tastings?
No, I don't think pizza.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that just seems gross. It seems gross enough with the wine, to be honest. I'm not a wine drinker, but yeah, just the act of spitting just seems like.
Yeah, that's wild. I had no idea that they made you do that in film.
Yeah. I mean, make you. I mean, they let me eat it. It's not like they like took it out of my mouth. But yeah, I think that I don't know if it's. I want to say it's probably a courtesy rather than an expectation that you like give them their pizza back. But I think it is more of a courtesy of like not, but they all did seem surprised or everyone who around me was just kind of like, it was a humorous thing that I was eating the pizza. It's like, well, I enjoy pizza. Do you see my weight? I mean, come on.
Well, you're still kicking, so the pizza must have been fine. It's
true. It's very true. It has been couple years. It's a very slow acting pizza if it kicks in now.
let me see. You have a lot of TV roles as well on your IMDb page. Which do you prefer, film or TV?
Well, I would say most of the TV roles I've had are fairly film-like. I've never really been on like a multicam type TV show. So most of the productions, like even My Crazy Ex, was filmed very much like a film. One camera, very indie, to be honest. For a show that's on Lifetime, that show was filmed on a pretty indie scale to my thinking. But I think that's not unlikely. I think that's very common. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that's very common because another show I did, which is TV, was Deep Undercover, and that eventually went to Netflix. And that there I played a mob boss, and that was also shot single camera, very much like a film, and also very low budget. You know, trying to cheat locations. You know, their office becomes part of location, or the parking lot of the office. You know, rent a location at Envision 8 Studios, which is a very affordable studio space here in LA that has a prison like set, has a police interrogation set, has a police station, cubicle, what do you call it? Cubicle typing pool, dressing room, other things, like little, like small things, apartment. But it's a set. It's a made set right in LA, and it's pretty affordable. But that's my point. A lot of these shows that go to big networks or big distributors aren't always like, oh my God, that's $1 million production. It's like, nah, they kind of threw it together on a shoestring. Just like, and the only reason I say that is actually not to diminish those productions. It's really, I would say, ideally to empower other creatives, that you don't have to like go big. Like obviously, production value and this and that, it's all important. But sometimes big shows that you're watching on Netflix, on Lifetime, were done just as simply as you could do with your friends.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. That's some good advice. If you could work with any director, who would it be?
I mean, the first name that comes to mind is Paul Thomas Anderson. I don't know if I'm good enough for that, to be honest with you. But yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson, I think it'd just be great to be in a Paul Thomas Anderson film. I think, in general, I know, that, Paul F. Tompkins, the comedian, had a small role in There Will Be Blood, but I think it wound up to just be the back of his head. So he has a comedy bit about that, and being on set and things. So yeah, I think even that would just be fun because you're on that environment. You're in that environment. You're with those people. Because I really, as I alluded to maybe earlier, is like I really just enjoy the environment of set, just being on set, the energy, the vibes, the people. It's just really electric. So I imagine when you get to the level of like a Paul Thomas Anderson set, it's even more so. Like maybe it's a little more nerve-wracking at first, but I think at the end of the day, it's probably not that different as just people making art together, having fun together. Some people maybe are a little more intense than others, but I think overall it's just people trying to collaborate to make the best thing possible. That's what's really, I think, the most appealing about film as well, is everyone comes together on this project, and the energy is great, the vibe is great, and it's very collaborative to build this thing and make it the best best it can be. And you really feel that on sets. I've really felt that on, I would say, most, if not all, of the sets I've been on, thankfully.
Awesome. If you could work with any other actor or actress, who would it be?
I think Paul Giamatti comes up first, but probably Steve Buscemi, because I think he'd be a little more chill and cool. But I don't know. I could be wrong. You never know with these things. But yeah, I think working with Steve Buscemi would be a lot of fun in some kind of capacity. I think also just the kind of quirkiness of him as an actor and myself, there could be some kind of way to synergize that into something interesting. Again, I'm presuming I'm going to be a lead with Steve Buscemi, but some kind of partner cop movie with Steve Buscemi, me and Steve Buscemi. I'm sure that's the executives are getting right to that
That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun, though.
I think I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Um, if you could work with any other genre of film, what would you pick?
I mean, comedy. I would probably. I mean, I like comedy probably the most. You know, it's difficult. I think too is. I mean, drama. I think is probably harder in some ways. A lot of people think it's the opposite. I think it probably is, but at the same time, like getting to that place dramatically, I think can be. You know, it's a lot. It's draining, in a way that comedy's just fun, and you get to just have fun. I think again, I think it depends on the comedy and what's being asked, but yeah, I think there's a certain just kind of free enjoyment of working on a comedy. It just seems like it would be a delightful delightful vibe out of any kind of genre if I could pick one.
Okay, cool. So do you have any other projects that you're working on right now? Any big roles coming out?
I do have another feature film. It's not mine, but I was a lead actor in The League of Warriors, which is it's still in production, but it should come out in 2025. And that I'm really excited about because it's kind of another one that synergizes video games and film, as it's the League of Warriors is intended to be like a gaming what do you call it? Not the only word that comes to mind right now is con, but like a gaming competition. So yeah, it's kind of envisioned as that kind of movie, road trip movie. So I'm excited about that. We filmed part of that already in Arizona, and that was a lot of fun. The crew was great. The other actors were great. Hot as hell in Arizona in end of July, but a lot of fun. That's probably the main thing. I think beyond that, I want to, like I mentioned at the close to the top, is I want to get back into sketch writing, make more sketches. I've done some in the past, but it feels like a high time to get back into that art, and maybe kind of put the streaming a little bit on the back burner. I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy video games quite a bit, but as far as like gaining an audience in that space, I found it to be a little difficult, a little. It's a bit like splitting your attention, I think, too much. Of like if you're trying to gain a gaming audience versus more like a, I don't know, actor fanship. I don't want to say fanship, but I think there is a strong, there's a strong. God, I can only think of financial terms. There's a strong asset, unfortunately, to having people join you on your journey. I mean, I think that's what we all want as creatives, whether we're actors, actors for sure the most, because it's kind of the biggest ego pursuit. It's like, look at my face, hire me, my face, it's here. So there's a big like, ego push on that. But all of us, whether it be our podcast, our sketch, or whatever, we're trying to get people to watch it and want to watch it on a regular basis, whatever that means, whether it be like they really connect with your personality, they really connect with the genre. But it's that piece. It's that finding your, again, I don't like the marketing term of your audience or your fan base, but it's kind of, there's no other way to put it. It's really, you're looking for that as a creative, because a lot of that is your power. If not negotiating power, it's just your straight up power. Because a lot of, I don't see it as much anymore. They probably look more like in private these days, but a lot of times you'd see casting calls probably 2018 times, where they're like, oh, this actor must have such and such many Instagram followers, or such and such many, whatever followers. And whether those are botted or real or whatever, the point is that number matters to casting directors, because it probably doesn't matter to them, but it matters to the producer, who's like thinking, okay, if they have 200,000 Instagram followers, that means, let's say, at least 10% will come to the movie because they're in it. So let's bank on them. And that's kind of the, obviously indie movies probably are less like that, maybe some, but it's all a calculation sometimes. I mean, not to say we're not even part of that too. I mean, we have Jason Font, Red Power Ranger, in The Seductress from Hell because he's a great actor, but also because he is the Red Power Ranger. He has some professional clout behind him, and we have a few other actors, daytime soap opera actor, actor that's been in like Iron Man and stuff. So it's all part of the perception of like, hey, look at me, we're important. I'm, whether it's actor, I'm important, or our movie's important. It's kind of this perception game of what you can fake. It's really the fake it until you make it. Really, it's like, hey, I got these laurels, I got these actors, I got this. It's like, oh, he must be somebody. We'll get him in the next thing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that's my laundry list of questions for you, Raj. Thank you. Thank you so much for sitting through my laundry list of questions and
my
watching me struggle try to read them.
Oh, not at all. No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the thinking time. It was great.
Good. Do you want to let our audience know where they can find your socials so they can come check you out? Absolutely, go follow Raj.
Please, yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I probably easiest is jawa.la. That's my website. But everywhere on social, I'm just Raj Jawa. Yeah, I was gonna say at Gmail, but yeah, I'm just Raj Jawa everywhere. Whether Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The only one I don't have is TikTok, where I had to get an underscore. But yeah, other than that, I am Raj Jawa on all the all the big social medias, and some of the ones that emerged after the Twitter mess up or whatever. But yeah, Raj Jawa everywhere. Jawa.la is my website. And yeah, all the things are there.
Perfect. Everybody go check him out, and thank you everyone for watching this video, and always remember to stay spooky.